space. I need some time to feel free and enjoy.
Yes guys, what's up and welcome back to a brand new video. I hope you guys are all well. As promised, I'm bringing you 6 things we learned from Manchester City vs Arsenal. I woke up yesterday. I was about to say last night, but yeah, woke up yesterday just feeling a little bit sort of, I don't know, still sort of deflated, dejected from the performance. And that's not to say it wasn't a good performance. It's just obviously, the fact that we did lose, it was, I find it kind of hard to get myself up for it, being if you did watch the match preview that went out a couple of days before, I did full well expect Arsenal to win, or perhaps more so want Arsenal to win than expect, but, I did say Arsenal to win 2-1, and, I think I almost put myself in a position where, obviously I was setting myself up to be let down, but I'm not saying Arsenal let me down at all, because they never do. It is what it is. We win as a team, we lose as a team, and that's just how it is. That's how it is in football. That's that's a generalised. If you don't follow that rule and you support a football team, you're a little bit sort of let's just say it's a bit interesting. But yeah, we're here, and obviously we're back filming as promised a 6 things we learnt video. If there aren't quite 6 points, obviously I won't list them, but obviously as I've actually copied taken the concept from George. Anyone who knows George Benson Football Club, he's a Chelsea fan, which again, shout out to George. He's amazing, real good, real nice guy, and whatnot. So yeah, I thought I'd just clear that up for people that perhaps haven't seen these type of videos before, or whatnot. But yeah, we're here to, I guess, look at the talking points, go through things as it went down, and as the game unfolded, sort of it all took that all too familiar turn in terms of Arsenal not being able to get the win, and going back, I guess, to the back end of last year. I say the back end of last year, it was only a couple of months ago. So what I'm about to mention is that we did beat them in the FA Cup, and obviously with the FA Cup kind of being fresh in the mind and and whatnot, they showed just how good a team that they are, and they bounced back, and obviously were able to get the win. Arsenal just didn't turn up in all the right aspects. I think they kind of looked at it, and obviously thought not necessarily that City were there for the taking, although they did very much look like it, obviously the way they were performing, and I think that was kind of, it led Arsenal to think that perhaps we just had to turn up and hopefully we would win, and against any City side, you can't do that. You can't do that against any Premier League side, no matter what. So yeah, that's obviously perhaps not necessarily, I'm not going to list that as a point, but it had to be mentioned nonetheless. So yeah, from that, I guess, moving on to, well, the first thing that comes out on game day, which is the lineup. The lineup for the most part was expected. There was no Thomas Partey, which was, to be fair, not so much expected, because I think obviously him coming in sort of late and playing against Man City as within his first game would have been a lot to ask from him, even though he's very much up to the job, very much capable, and obviously I don't think anyone's kind of even debating that, but it was for the most part, as I say, the lineup was expected. Few for me, I say few, not necessarily few. One massive point, that was to say, let's say, interesting. And I think as the game unfolded, we were found out because of the selection of this said player. Not saying he's not good enough to play for the club, because obviously they wouldn't have got him in if they didn't think he was. But playing Willian down the middle, it's definitely a no from me. I wouldn't advise doing that ever again. Hopefully it's something that might that will kick Arteta into gear, and hopefully he won't do that ever again, because if that's what he's been bought for, personally, I would rather him have not come in at all, because you've got 2 proven strikers on the bench in Eddie Nketiah and Alex Lacazette. I don't really know what and why Lacazette was benched. In terms of sort of the game itself, I guess we'll get started with the points. Start rattling off the points now. Point number 1 has definitely got to be Willian in for Lacazette. I couldn't understand as to what the thinking was behind it, and as to obviously why Arteta chose to go down that way. Because me personally, looking at it, and obviously as many other fans, as the news started filtering out, they were all voicing their own opinions. And to be fair, from what I did see, I didn't see anyone actually agreeing with it. I think we all had to agree with it because obviously we all trust Arteta, and obviously, he's the boss, and obviously he sees what goes on in training week in, week out, and obviously William was perhaps putting it in a lot more than Lacazette. That is the only reason I can ascertain as to why William was selected over Lacazette, because personally, if you go in sort of from form, there's no reason why that should have happened. You want to give yourself the best chance of winning the game, therefore you should be picking the best players to win the game. So yeah, that's obviously point number one. Point number one had to be that, because it was, again, it was the first point that came out, and obviously the first thing that come out on a game day is the lineup. And when you kind of look at it, I do reiterate, as videos have gone by, I do make a massive point as to the lineup, because I guess the players that are selected, are so important as to how the game is going to pan out. So yeah, point number two, again, it's a bit more of on a light note. I think it has to be sort of, I can't keep consistently grilling certain players, and whatnot, and the team in general. So yeah, number two, a bit more on the lighter side. I think Gabriel, outstanding again, in the heart of the defence with David Luiz. It actually did come out that Rob Holding was going to play instead of David Luiz, but he was taken out last minute due to a tight hamstring. So obviously, get well, Rob. Hopefully you'll come back stronger, as we all know you're capable. But yeah, for me, we've definitely uncovered a gem in Gabriel. He was very much well known before we bought him. Obviously, there was a lot of transfer speculation as to where he's going to end up and and whatnot. And so I think the fact that Arsenal and Arteta has the pull to still get these players is very much credit to Arsenal, and also credit to Arteta, because he is still very much a young manager, and he has got a lot to learn. So again, from the first point, I just hope that's a point that's able to kick him into gear, and obviously hoping that he will learn from it and not do it again. And if he is, do it perhaps in a more suited game, as to playing William down the middle. But moving on to point number three, obviously, you kind of look at it and think, in a defeat, there's not going to be many positives, but there was a lot of positives. Obviously, I thought the style of play that we have adapted, it may not have been suitable for that specific game, going sort of quite gung-ho and, trying to be on the offensive more than defensive. I think we've got to work on a balance between the two. I think, in terms of the way we played in that particular game was suited for perhaps most of the other games in the season, but just not against the sort of teams that are going to hurt you as such. And I'm not saying there's no specific teams that aren't going to hurt you, but playing against Man City, playing against a top 4, top 6 teams, that sort of offensive style of play isn't going to always work. And I think obviously we were found out Saturday, by the fact, that we tried to go a little bit too gung-ho and try to sort of, assert our dominance and tried to start quick and, whatnot. And it did backfire, because obviously the same, well, as I said, I alluded to it earlier on, the same script was just written, and it just fell into place as to, how the game sort of panned out after that. But yeah, from a, so much, obviously looking for the positives, and I think that's definitely a positive, the way Arsenal did go about it, and obviously the way, we played, certainly wasn't, it didn't leave anything to, I guess, the imagination as such. So yeah, we, I thought, on the whole, we played quite well. So, with that being said, I think that was important. So yeah, I guess, point number 3 has got to be more along the lines of being positive still, and obviously taking the game to the opposition, and hopefully doing that in more suited games, and perhaps adapting to certain situations where I guess the home team or the perhaps even the away team, obviously, because you play both teams, you play all teams once at home and once away. So that was me just thinking, just trying to sort of err on the side of positivity, and obviously look at even though we did lose, look at the fact that we still did we gave it as good as we got. We gave it as good as we got. We just we weren't clinical enough. Even as good as we did play, we just weren't, I guess, clinical enough in the right areas. So I guess that's what point number 3 is. We played really well, but just wasn't clinical enough in the right areas. Point number 4, it's got to be, I guess, I guess say point number 4, but it's so much probably linked to point number 3, in terms of the never say die attitude, starting on the front foot. As I've been hammering home the point that Arsenal have got to get better at doing so. We have got to start, I guess, on the right foot. So give yourself the best opportunity to win the game. Depending on, and not even like making it almost not even matter who you're playing against. Just making sure that everything goes right. You obviously select the right team, and whatnot, and obviously go into the game with the best possible formula to hopefully get the 3 points, or whatever competition you're playing in. Obviously, either progress to the next round or and whatnot. So that, I guess that would be point number 4. And just work out the balance between attack, defense, and sort of kind of have an adaptable game plan. As to, I'm not saying that they don't, but it just didn't seem like they did in that particular game. It didn't seem like they knew really what to do when they were 1-0 down. When they went 1-0 down, it was kind of like it was a real kick in the stomach. And with that being said, I think I've got to mention, as point number 5 slowly comes around, it was a kick in the stomach as to, we were playing really well up until that point, and it was kind of almost like, it was like real, taking 3 steps forward and 2 steps back, and whatnot. And it was kind of like, where you look at it and think, we were just a certain dominance, if you will. And, when the goal went in, it was kind of like, oh man, we were just, as I say, we were just coming into the game. And I think, if we had got into half time 0-0, who knows how the game would have obviously panned out. But to be fair, it's not a perfect game. It's not the reason why we fell in love with it, because it is perfect. It's not perfect, and that's, I think, for me personally anyway, it's not the reason why I fell in love with it. Point number 5 has got to be VAR. I'm sick to the, I'm sick to my stomach talking about VAR. I actually really am, because it was brought in for the officials and to make it easier for them. But I'm sick to death of talking about VAR game in, game out, match weekend after match weekend, game day after game day. I'm sick and tired of it. I know I'm not the only one, because I might, if I can, I'll put some screenshots of other people's opinion, put it up like in this corner, as to conversations that I've had with people on Instagram and stuff like that, and just throughout social media. I'm sick to death of it, and I think everyone is right, more or less right now, because I've heard people say it's going to right itself, and it's going to, you're going to be wronged and right at the same time, sort of, not at the same time, but the same amount of times. And I don't generally believe that, because I don't generally believe the officials know exactly how to use it, and I don't believe the officials know what to use it for. I think they're so sort of paranoid about it, and and whatnot. But point number 5 got to be the challenge from Carl Walker on Gabriel. How that wasn't a penalty, is just beyond me. To be fair, the less said, the better, because I felt like I could obviously spend the next 5 minutes talking about it, but I'm not, because we're already on 14:30. The first, I guess, the last point of the game was the fact that it was just disappointing to not get the win. I don't like more or less making one specific point about the result. But it was hopefully, we'll bounce back, and hopefully, because obviously we've got a game in Europe this Thursday against Rapid Vienna away. So that is going to be it for the video. I hope you guys did enjoy. If you did get anything from it, be sure to leave it down in the comments. I'll talk to you guys very, very soon in the next one in a bit. Peace in a bit.